Hi, it's Wednesday, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you as always by the Disability Arts Organisation Together 2012. I'm Ju Gosling, artist and artistic director, also known as Ju90. With me in my East London studio, where she has been since March, is our chair, the artist and documenter Julie Newman. I'm going to do a little bit of audio description in a minute, but first of all, I'm going to go to the other end of our long virtual wheeled sofa to the West Midlands for some introductions and audio description from the other half of the team.
So yeah, hi, good afternoon. Sorry, I was very loud then. I got excited. It's because I haven't been on screen since Friday. Apologies for my absence Monday. Circumstances out of my control got in the way. So, hi, I'm Robin Surgeonator. I'm business director, even at Together 2012. I obviously forgotten how to speak as well. And I am up here in the West Midlands in the West Midlands office of the production. Um, Today I have got shorter silvery white hair than I had on Friday as well. I've got one of those things in my tummy. I wind it back in like the Barbies I had as a child, obviously. I have no rimmed black armed glasses. I'm nicely shaven today and I'm wearing a black round necked t shirt with a very vibrant green rectangle on the front which says Protect the Human, and it's an Amnesty International t shirt.
Hi, I'm Josh Surgeonator. I'm also one of the hosts of Together Unlocked, and I am a PhD student as well. I have long blonde hair that's kind of brushed over to one side. I've got a ginger beard going, but now that I've finally finished unpacking all of the things from my house, I've now refound my razors and clippers so I can tidy that up and hopefully look slightly more presentable going forward now that I have access to something to deal with it. And I am wearing a navy polo t-shirt that says London 2012 Paralympic Games, and then it has the London 2012 Paralympic logo, and it's in the colours of the Union flag, which is red, white, and blue.
Well, that's really very timely because we are part of the Paralympic cultural legacy. We've been creating Together 2012 since, well, 2012 when we were a one-off volunteer-led festival for London 2012, and then everybody asked us to carry on and deliver a year-round programme as well as an annual festival. That means that we now deliver our clubs programme, which is free and open to any disabled person who can get there. It used to be that you had to be able to get to East Ham, but now you simply have to be able to get online with decent data access. So still a little bit restricted, but we're running a combination of clubs by phone and by Zoom, and you'll hear a little bit more about them later. If I start with the background for the audio description, we are seated in front of a graffiti banner that says Together 2012 and has images of some of the different activities that we do both in our year-round programme and also in our free artistic programme, which is aimed at everybody, with exhibitions, performances, screenings, carnival art, street art, and much more. So on the banner, there is also music, drama, poetry and spoken word, dance, and much, much more. Seated in front of it, I have a corona crop, as we've been calling it, a moth-eaten do-it-yourself haircut. Fortunately, looks better on camera, if you can believe that, than in real life. I've got green eyes behind black plastic glasses. I've got black wrist braces and silver-coloured jewellery. And I'm wearing a grey t-shirt that says Dada Fest International 08. And yes, I'll just let Julie introduce herself, and I just want to come back and say a word about the t-shirt before we move on, and also I tell you about the rest of the show.
Ray. I'm Julie. I'm the chair. I'm sitting in the chair as I have been since March, so I'm slightly dusty with cobwebs and very long hair currently, so a bit scruffy. Not as well turned out as Robin and Ju. I'm not mentioning Josh.
It's fine.
Well, you and Josh have got very similar haircuts, haven't you?
Sadly, getting closer and closer together, yes, for sure. Poor Josh. I have gold and silver hair. I have dark rimmed glasses. I have currently I'm wearing a black t-shirt with a cat constellation looking at a shooting star, and that's to mark the bravery of Ju, who went out into the garden and in the dead of night to watch Mars. So I was very impressed at that and thought it was a wonderful thing.
Yes, indeed. For anybody who's a regular viewer, you'll know that one of the things we've been looking at since March is how we can enjoy nature from home. And on a Monday, when we look at film, photography, and performance, we've also looked at how we can do a bit of nature photography. Mars, I was amazed that I could actually see it, just like the
Wow,
newspaper said. I
yeah.
thought it was another helicopter over Canning Town to start with, but yes, I did really enjoy that. On a Friday, so I can do a plug now. We have a feature called Something for the Weekend, and we recommend things that you can do from home, online, and offline, almost all free. I can't remember, was it you, Robin, or Josh, who had wanted to say something to Julie? Because last Friday, what were you doing for the weekend?
I was heading off to the moon to have tea with the clangers.
Over
Yeah,
to you,
I had
Chris,
a really rubbish pun. I was going to ask you how the restaurant was because I heard the food was great, but it had no atmosphere.
please.
I don't know, you're denying the gravity of the situation.
I don't know what we started when our Monday app feature we got started getting into punning. It's going to be a long winter. I think the puns are only going to get worse. So on Monday, we told you live on air, we released the program for our Together 2020 Disability History Month Festival, which for the first time you can join in wherever you are, so long as you have internet access. And we do indeed have other ways of participating. So, what I also wanted to flag up today is that Dada Fest, based in Liverpool, will be running a festival of their own for part of that. It's really complimentary, so we're encouraging you to do both. They're very different festivals. You can find out more about our festival on our website. Just follow the link. It's the first link currently on the website to the Together 2020 Disability History Month Festival. That's going to be running from the 11th of November through to the 12th of December. Trying to make sure I've got these dates in the right order. There will be live events on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and for families, Saturdays, and then the recordings with enhanced audio and captions will be available the day after. All of the events will have Zoom tickets, but they'll also be streamed live on YouTube. So if you want to join in the artist talks, you can do that on Zoom or you can simply watch online. We have a great variety of really all of the art forms that I've already mentioned and some more, because we also have puppetry, we have storytelling, we have 3 visual arts events, we have a 3-day International Disability Film Festival, and much, much more. Dada Fest will be taking place for just a week of that time. So it's the 27th of November. It starts a couple of weeks after ours and it runs through to the 3rd of December, which is International Day of Disabled People. And also the day our film festival starts in terms of events in the daytime for filmmakers. But you will be able to enjoy both events as an audience member. The theme of Dada Fest this year, because it's a biannual festival, it just takes place every 2 years, is translations. And what they're doing is they're bringing together 8 locally based artists from the Liverpool area and the Northwest with 7 international artists and companies. And they've all made work especially on commission around the theme of translations. So it's going to be a really wonderful Disability History Month for UK produced and international disability art. And you will be able to watch it entirely free and from home. I know that, like us, Dada Fest will have live BSL interpretation and live captions, so it really will be accessible to everybody. And we do have a little scheme to assist with data. So if you know somebody who would like to enjoy it but has only got limited data access, then please do contact us. The email details are at the bottom of the page. So, just finally, to add in the audio description and flag up the rest of the show, behind me is a teddy bear dressed in a ballet outfit, and her name is Anna. She decided she would come in to develop an interest in a career in cyber, for anybody who's been watching the news. But we race clockwork toys every Wednesday in our very own Paralympics to decide whether a teddy bear in East London or the West Midlands is going to wear a medal this week. We always have the same gold plastic commemorative medal because it's the only one in the house, but the Surgeoners, led by Robin, the multi-gold medal winning Paralympian, have all sorts of medals, so generally they bring out a different one. I was saying to Julie, it says something to me after 6 or 7 months that we have a Paralympian that's actually got really into our kind of a joke Paralympics because it's better to race clockwork toys than nothing at all. So Anna is developing her career in cyber, and she will be racing or watching the other toys race sometime after 3:30.
Her team.
Yes, her team. She will be watching. Well, it's a sprint. There's a representative from each one, and I'll introduce those particular competitors later. But start again. Wednesday is Poetry Day, not Poetry Day as Wednesday, with our Together Pop-Up Poetry Club and poems from each and every one of you. Following that, I also have a profile of one of our locally based artists who, in fact, hasn't taken part in the poetry today, but we've heard a lot of her poems and seen her also with our company, our associate drama company, Act Up Newham, is Pizer Malik Neve. So we're going to be looking at a profile of Pizer. It's also virtual nature watch. So around 3:30, we're going to be going for a short walk in Norfolk with Merlot, the assistant's dog. But before that, Robin wasn't able to be with us on Monday. And in the Something for the Weekend feature last Friday, you had a really interesting idea for a creative writing exercise. And for anybody who's interested, we have a highlights and links page under our main Together Unlocked TV page on the website. All of the videos we show, the things we refer to, the links will be there, including, of course, today, Dada Fest 2020. So if you go back to last Friday's show, then all of this that Robin is just about to explain is written down on the highlights and links page. So just summarise what the exercise was, Robin.
Okay, so the idea was to launching really from it being World Mental Health Day, and kind of the whole month of thinking, and we've done a lot of work around thinking about well-being, was just to the idea was to jot down an immediate thought or the immediate thought way of what you were doing, how you were feeling on a regular basis throughout Saturday and Sunday, with the idea of it forming a bit of prose in itself, or it could be the launch pad for some poetry. But I realize actually you'll see when I read this out in a moment that because I actually did do it every hour that I was awake, whether I wanted to be awake or not, as it might tell you, it's there's quite a long list of prose. Let's just call it prose. Okay, so I'll just read this. So this was my weekend in hourly thoughts. Go back to sleep. Hopeful, inspired, impressed, excited, hungry and knackered, sadness and loss, replenished and ready to go, productive, broken pipe fixed, hero complex, satisfaction, family frustration, sated, decision time, chilling with modern family, self-medication time, escapism creating escapism, pain relief beckons. So that was Saturday. On to Sunday morning. Don't want to hurt. Semi-conscious creative wonderland. Cluttered. Transported to transcend. Caffeine-fueled cacophony of thoughts. Family fractiousness. Return of the calm. Music making beckons. Claustrophobic indecision undermines. Panic over craft supplies provide. Enveloped or enveloped. Anticipation easily pleased. Food fueled haven. Sod the guilt. Surprised by my efforts. Honoured at bedtime. Feet up, finally decompressing. Seeking bed. Seeking relief. Seeking closeness.
I thought that was great. And one of the things that we've looked at over the series of Together Unlocked is ways of being creative if the situation is making you feel that you can't be creative, it's blocking your creativity. And I think that's a really good exercise. I mean, I have done a lot of creative things, but they've mostly been working with other artists or doing DIY. And if I am doing anything creative, it's writing a poem about the current situation. So I think this kind of thing is just enormously liberating. And if you don't know where to start writing a poem or you've never written a poem, it's a really good way to start. So, all of the details are on the highlights and links page. Julie, before I come on to the Pop Up Poetry Club, I know Josh has also written a poem. We've been reprogramming Josh for a career in not for a career in cyber, but for a career in the arts, since he, like so many other students, had his studies rudely interrupted. And of course, we don't hear much about all of the postgrads whose studies have been completely stopped. But still, we'll hear more about what it's like to kind of view the world from the perspective of a student from you now, Josh, if that's okay.
Yeah, so this was a poem that I sat down to write it in the half hour of the poetry club. It took me slightly longer than half an hour, and this is about the fifth attempt at writing it. But this is my untitled poem because I haven't come up with one. In the black summer, the bush burned, 3 million dead in a fire, just like all the scientists said. In the ocean, the barrier reef bleached, the colours all leached. All of this driven because the sea temperature has risen. 38 million cases and rising, a pandemic worsened by political surmising. When doctors' guidelines and rules are taken as lenient simply because their instructions might cause inconvenience. Anti-vax, anti-mask, anti-science. I mean, come on, people. There is no conspiracy. They're telling the truth. It's just as it seems. In times like these, it makes me think of songs about escapism and dreams. Bowie the Beatles and other bands spring to mind. Fanciful stories of Mars and the marine. A better life, far away and serene.
Oh, thank you, Josh. I don't know quite what to say, but I really liked that. And it's funny, isn't it? Because actually, I mean, you will confirm this, the 60s were really difficult for a lot of people. And I remember graduating it for my first degree into 83 when there was just mass graduate unemployment. But we can still look back and think that for many, many people, those were sort of golden eras, you know, the sort of the whole period of the 60s, the whole period of the 80s. But actually, for a lot of people, I think it was still really difficult. But the kind of sense of looking back, you don't still have those memories. But Julie, moving on to the Pop Up Poetry Club, this is our phone based club, isn't it? And what happens is our engagement support worker Noel will phone you before 10:30, add you to a group phone call at our expense. At 10:30, the group starts. They break off in the middle to write a poem on a theme that's been decided by our club's programme leader, Alison Marchant. And then everybody gets back on the phone call and share the poems. And what's particularly nice about it is our clubs, but particularly the Pop Up Poetry Club, always run on free hot drinks and biscuits. And this way, you just have to make your own, pick up the phone, and it is just like being there, except you don't have to leave the house. So, how did it go today?
It was a smaller group. We had some apologies from people. It obviously was a busy week for a lot of folk, not for me. It's the same old, really. But it was lovely to hear everybody. And what really moved me was that one of our participants, when we were all together sharing the telephone space, greeted us all with great excitement and joy by saying, "Hooray, it's poetry, it's poetry." And it was so lovely. It was a really nice way to start the session. Um, Everybody contributed in their different ways. Some people didn't write original poems, but read. Well, one man particularly read the lyrics from a couple of songs. There's quite a few songs linked into autumn and autumn leaves, etc. And it's so different when they're read rather than when you hear it. I thought I knew the song, for example, Autumn Leaves, um, really, really well. It was sung by Nat King Cole, as I remember it. Um, but when I heard it read, it was like a different set of lyrics.
Because that's always been part of the way we run the club. In more usual times, people come and randomly select a book off our poetry shelves while we're having our cup of tea, find a poem they don't know, and share it with others. And the way we do it on the phone-based group is, pretty much the same. You might want to share a poem you've written in the week. You might want to share a poem you've found, or you might want to look at the lyrics. I should stress it's always been really important to our club's program that it fits in around the rest of your life. So yes, there's absolutely no compelling anybody
No.
to turn up every week. In fact, quite the reverse. That always seems to me to be very institutional. We don't teach, we have our clubs and we work together on the basis that everybody has got something to teach and everybody has got something to learn. So our clubs bring together mid-career artists who do facilitate for us with emerging artists and just anybody who's interested at all in getting more familiar with other people's poetry and trying your hand at writing your own. So the theme was autumn. Shall we start with you, Julie?
Okie dokie. I have to say my name. Autumn by Julie Newman. That's me. Where are the leaves fallen on the ground, still vibrant in their last burst of colour, before the winter comes and the wind sounds even stronger through trees now duller, braced for the season change? Those leaves that gave us so much joy, swept up with care, piled tall like centuries marking time, then dispersed by reckless boys and girls, kicking and laughing, thrown like confetti on their way to school. The smells that follow us through life's travails, colours repeating, rejoicing as seasons change. Those memories strengthened by fond tales of bygone days, childhood dreams now strange in the harshness of today. Autumn colours, autumn smells come to life still strong as harvest baking fills the homes. Pumpkins carved and lit, apples cooked with spice fill jars, soups made, bread baked, and tables grown with the weight of the feast. The days shorten and winter comes fast now, and faster still as winds whistle through trees laid bare, carrying away colours with leaves covered by snow. Stillness marks the day. The chill sits in the air as we wait then for spring.
Wow.
Oh, as always, blown away by that. And all of the poems we read today are on the website under the highlights and links page. I'm going to read this one next by Dawn Barber, which is called Journey of Winter. The trees are turning colours, the leaves are falling down. You can feel the coldness more pulling your curtains early. Seeing the pigeons huddle up together in the park, people walking round in warmer coats and boots and scarves. Hot drinks, cosy socks, winter is here now. Another journey for us. So let's just cover our hearts with the things we love to do to make it easier to get through. Thank you, Dawn. And Dawn is somebody who I shouldn't say doesn't even have a mobile. So we know that the phone group is really working well. So over to the West Midlands, and one of you is going to read a poem by Dwayne Bryan.
Yeah, hi guys, it's me. So
Actually, Robin, this is unusual for me, but could you turn your microphone slightly up? Shock horror on Josh's face.
That.
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. So, Dwayne, thank you very much. This is a poem entitled Attack. Had the autumn come, or had the autumn gone? I just can't tell. Where does it start? Where does it end? I see the leaves falling from the trees as I watch them blowing on the breeze. As I walk along, by my feet I see squirrels chewing on a small leaf. I hold my hands out with a small treat and wait for them to greet. The churchyard is where I walk and see those leaves on the floor. It seems like every time I walk in the churchyard, I see them more. Thanks, Dwayne.
Oh, yeah, that was great, Dwayne. And it's so evocative. For about 3 years, we based our clubs program up in Stratford, very close to where Dwayne lives. And I can really picture that. And I think it's been one of the great blessings of poetry in lockdown is that helping you to remember the places we've been, even if it's not safe for us to visit them at the moment. And of course, with the wartime poetry, the reminder that our ancestors, very recent ancestors, many of them still alive, went through years and years and years in 2 world wars, which kind of puts all this into perspective, really, even if you're a student.
Talking to my
So,
mum about that the other day, actually, and she was saying, "Oh, I mean, so my mum is 80
I don't know.
something, 4 or 5. She still walks to the
I
town
thought 6.
every other day at least. It's like a 2.5 mile round journey. But as she was saying, oh, this blooming lockdown, I can't buy everything I want. And I went, well, don't surely it's nothing compared with the war. And she said, well, yeah, but that was then, and this is now. And that, I think, it's very easy to kind of almost want to kind of go, well, yeah, it was tough then. It's only a pandemic now, but it is now, and that's why it kind of hurts for us. Even those who've been through, certainly my mum is old enough to have lived through the Second World War, that it's still really quite an intense restriction, and in some ways more restrictive on movement.
yes, I mean, I think one of the things about Newham is, I think almost half of our residents don't speak English at home. So we're very well aware that lots of people have come from wars and so on, and indeed have spent many years detained, sadly, not just in other places, but also in immigration facilities here. So I think, I wouldn't minimize it. I think it's just about saying we can do this. It is not really a big deal to be at home. And also, I think it's really the more of us that stay at home, the safer it is for our key workers and everybody else who has to be out and about. There's one final poem, and then I'm going to move on and show us a short film for Black History Month, celebrating one of our favourite members, not in fact simply of ACT Up Newham and the Pop-Up Poetry Club, but also of our associate wheelchair dance company, Folk in Motion. But finally, first, this is Alison Marchant at the edge of Epping Forest. At the edge of Epping Forest in rainy autumn, where wet leaves send scents of dead leaves and autumn and October mist, and on other clear autumn days the breath of wind through orange and yellow coloured trees, with flames of rust and red, where the wood is ochre in forest frost. And thank you, Alison. Alison is our club's programme leader. She's also an international installation artist, although all of us are currently working internationally over the internet only. You won't be surprised to hear. So here is, without further ado, an introduction to Pisa. You will have seen Pisa so many times. If you're a regular viewer, it's great to know a little bit more about her.
I'm Pisa Malikneev. I like to be in ACT UP because ACT UP keeps me motivated to go on acting, to go on developing my talents, mix with other people, mix with other drama groups, learn singing, develops my acting skills, my video making skills. Actually, ACT UP is really building me up and keep me moving, although I'm the oldest in the group, but I enjoy it. It's always fun.
In Parsons generation, Simonson able to make her own choices. I push feet high, but pines and some box remain sharp until she went calling and found her own wings.
We work with other drama groups in theaters, shows, open air theater, workshops, schools, community centers.
Your Honor, my son is 20 years old. He has learning difficulties. They took him away from me unfairly. I've not seen him for 5 years. They do not tell me where he lives. I'm not allowed to phone. Why are they preventing me from seeing him? Imagine how does that feel for both of us. I travel from 3 o'clock in the morning by bus, taxi, train, taxi to go and see him. Do you think disabled people cannot cope? This is discrimination. If not, what is?
It is always fun to be in ACT UP because of all this artistic experience, which develops my artistic talent in acting.
The oldest woman in the world, 250 years. And I have lots of story to tell you.
I was in all the shows that ACT UP put up at theaters and community centers, church halls. I was once a queen, and I was once a grandmother.
Where am I? Where's my wheelchair?
It's right here, Your Majesty. Is your friend?
Where am I? Yes, there was a terrible storm. Our plane was hit and we fell into the water. I thought I would drown. But my clothes are dried. What a magic! Is this my throne? Oh, the sea has ruined it. What am I going to do? Power! I have But where is everybody? My ministers, my friends, my PA. They have all left me. I have lost everything. My joy, my daughter. What is the use of power if there's no one to help you?
It's always challenging to be one of the cast in ACT UP because the show is being witnessed or being or the audience come from all levels, all walks of life, and they find that disabled people can create awareness among the people that we act as any other actress.
And that was great. It makes me so proud that ACT UP are our associate drama company. I wish I could speak as well as Pisa does. And yes, did you have anything you wanted to add, Julie?
I think Pisa shows us so much, doesn't she? She's got such a rich past, a history in her own life that she shares so willingly in the here and now. And she's just so talented. But I think it's really important to recognize that as we get older, it doesn't mean we have no value. It means not our value isn't necessarily in our reminiscences, it's in what we can do today.
Well, absolutely. I was going to say greater value. ACT UP Newham is a community. God, it's dreadful today. A community training company, not a draining company. And obviously, Pisa, with all her experience, artists can learn an awful lot from her. We talked with some of the other profiles about how difficult it is for actors with learning difficulties to access formal training. So what people are learning from Pisa, I know, is huge. And of course, your presence in the Poetry Club has been very much appreciated. And I think everybody knows why that's heard the poems. But I'm going to move on now to our weekly feature, Virtual Nature Watch, also known the trendy term as slow TV. We're going to take a walk with Merlot, Steropleurge's assistance dog in Norfolk, and Julie, as always, is going to give us a little bit of audio description to go with it.
And we're on a camera, coming from a camera on the back of Merlot's back. You can see his little black head with his little floppy over ears ahead of us and his collar. He's taking us from a green grassed area into a wooded area. And he's walking on at a reasonable pace. I wouldn't say it was slow TV. I would have thought it was actually quite busy TV. There's a lot going on, and Merlot is, as most dogs are, quite a busy little dog. He's actually a dog with a purpose at the moment. He seems to know exactly where he's going. And although the camera is going up and down, he's surrounded by trees and he doesn't go into any of them. He's walking towards, with great purpose, a tree with a bench around it, and he's turning round to look at his people. Perhaps he's waiting for them to come along with him. He's going past the tree with the bench around it, and he's progressing. It looks as if there's been well, hey, he's just given himself a good shake because it looks as if there's been a drop of rain. There's a little splodge on the camera lens or on the casing in the front. Now he's turned around, he's going in the opposite direction. He's heading towards a break in the trees where beyond the treescape is some fields, nice and green, very, very fresh. But he's coming up to some dense bushes. He's turning round again and he's heading towards a gate, but he's paused to just make sure that his people are with him. And he's very excited now. He's moving a great deal faster. This is not slow TV, Ju. This is very rapid Merlot TV. And he's having another good old shake. It's started to rain, I would have thought. But he's really enjoying himself. He's pausing, stopping, thinking, smelling, waiting patiently as always. And then on he goes, following the path. There is a path there, although it's difficult to see, but Merlot knows exactly where he's heading for. And he's going again through the trees. There's still leaves on the trees, and there's a lot of leaves on the ground. It's very beautiful. The sky is quite grey, but still reasonably bright. He's continuing to head for a clearing, a different clearing. I can see he's going back to the tree with the bench around it, and I think that's the end of the journey.
Or at least that may be where the camera fell off or where Hannah paused it. And thank you, as always, to ACT UP company coordinator Hannah Facey, who's been filming the profiles of ACT UP Newham, editing all the films, and also sorting out Merlot's technical support. shall we
She's
say.
an unsung hero. Merlo is
Yes,
lovely, though, isn't he? What a
I
lovely
think
dog.
that's true. You know,
Yeah.
we're always incredibly grateful to you, Hannah, if you're watching.
Absolutely.
So, moving on to the Paralympics, I've already introduced our competitor, Anna, who's considering a career in cyber or combining a career in cyber with the arts being predominant. So, who is the competitor for Birmingham 2022 this week?
This is our competitor, who is a Team GB lion
teddy bear.
lion teddy bear.
Yes, for anybody who's as confused as we are by the Surgeonator's approach to teddies, we're taking, well, we, the two of us at least, are taking part in the virtual teddy bear hunt. There are 2 teddy bear hunts going on this year. One is where you put a teddy bear in your window for children to spot as they're on walks, and one is where you put a teddy bear on your screen for children, including, of course, children who can't go out for whatever reason and they might be in hospital, to see your bears on screen. Yes, I'm not even going to discuss that. I'm just going to accept
You
that the
might
lion.
there's a support team of teddies behind us, including Winnie, who's been peeking through all day.
Yes, I saw you've
There's a
acquired
gang,
a whole gang
yes.
of teddies. You've actually gone really quiet again, Robin. I shouldn't say
sorry. That's probably
that.
There you go. Sorry.
But in the meantime, I'm going to put the Paralympic film up, and as always, I'm going to get Josh to do some audio
Who
description.
are we choosing today?
Oh,
Oh, I haven't told.
Right,
Let me start first. I haven't told you who the competitors are. It's a slightly different. We're on a different track this week. We have moved from my landing back into the studio because partly to mix it up a bit. You know, the Paralympics had different venues. Even in this borough, we had Excel as well as the Olympic Park. So yes, we have 2 competitors. One is a frog and one is a hare. So you get the choice of competitor. I should also say that. Sorry?
We're going for the frog.
You're going for the frog. Well, that suits somebody who's also known as Angry Fish. There is one of our random appearances, as we advertise it, by one of the studio cats. If you want to know more about the cats and dogs that appear in the show, usually by accident rather than by design, then under our Together Unlocked TV page, below highlights and links, you will see a page called Together's Animal Hosts. Well, it was quite bizarre when you weren't here on Monday, Robin, because your tabby cat decided to join Josh to co-present. And then ours did, and it actually looked like the cat had gone from one room to the other. But in fact, it was 2 cats. And worse than that, you have 2 tabbies, and we have 2 virtually identical tabbies here. So, yes, there is an appearance by Sparkle. And for anybody just in advance of the audio description, Sparkle is a blue and cream tabby who spends most of her time asleep, but not this morning. So again, a little bit of audio description before you start, Josh. So I'm kneeling down on the rug. It's actually in front of some mirrors in the studio, and the film starts when I'm winding the toys up.
So Ju is preparing competitors. There is a frog and a hare and a streaker called Sparkle. He's trying to eat the camera, I believe. Very interested in the lens, but has completely decided to block the racetrack from the competitors. So the stewards are currently on their way to remove the obstruction.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of point when we would normally go to a message from our sponsors.
As the stewards have now removed the intrusion, and she will receive a lifetime ban from the stadium for that interruption. So, and we are off, and the frog was off to an early lead. The hare was trailing behind. The frog has now stopped, and the hare has veered off screen. And the interloper has returned and is now trying to eat the frog.
attacking
the
this.
hair.
I mean,
Is
this is
attacking the
unheard of. I mean,
competitor.
I've seen things at football matches, but they pale into insignificance compared with this interference with play.
And I'm not entirely sure who won either. So
We may have to.
can we go to VAR? Can we?
Well, I do actually, for some bizarre reason, and I have to say this is really a software issue beyond our control. For some bizarre reason, all of the things, because we'd got two cameras open, were echoing. But in fact, the hair won.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
The racetrack entirely and should be disqualified.
Yeah, surely the grey line outside into the grey lines is out of bounds.
So you see, dear viewer, what I mean. The longer they go without proper competition, the worse they get, and the more seriously they take our joke sports.
Honestly,
there's a moral in that tale. I'm just not entirely sure what it is.
it's a shambles, this competition. Fans on the track.
I'm going to Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to that court.
Going to CAS.
The court for sport.
Court of arbitration for sport.
Yes, watch out on Friday to see if Anna has been banned. But currently, well, of course, ballet dancers are great athletes, so she can't really transfer to a career in sport, but she quite likes this lot of cyber. But now it's time for our weekly sports and gaming report from Josh Surgeonator. So very happily, I'll hand over to you at this point, Josh.
Yeah, so two big sporting things. The first one is that on Friday, the International Swimming League Season 2 starts. So there is two competitions this weekend. There's one on Friday and Saturday, and then one that's Sunday and Monday. So there is 10 teams, and kind of each, they're called matches. There's 4 teams in each match. It's all going to be on Eurosport Player, I believe, which is a paid service. But all of the matches that have London Raw, which is with the team from London, are all going to be on BBC Sport and free to watch. So obviously, if you like swimming, then you're probably all going to be aware of that. But we talked about it a little bit previously because we actually went to one of the matches that was at the Aquatic Centre in London last year. Even if you don't like swimming, it's still entertaining to watch, and it's designed to do that, to bring new people into the sport. It's all kind of fancy graphics and colourful lights and music and things like that, and it's just kind of one and done races. There's no heats and finals and having to work out where different things are. It's you get in, you sprint 2 lengths, whoever finishes first wins, and it's as simple as that. So yeah, that's starting this weekend, so I'm quite looking forward to that. And then the other one, it was launched last week, I think. It's the United Through Sport Virtual Youth Sport Festival 2020. And there's lots of kind of connections. The IOC are running stuff, the IPC, which is the International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee. But the IPC are doing their kind of inclusive sport challenge as part of this festival. So I think the deadline is the 20th of November. So it's for people under 18, and it's split into an under 12s and under 18 competition. You have to do a maximum of a 60-second exercise routine that you created, and then a 45-second piece explaining your motivation for wanting to enter, and then a message to world leaders on what they can do to make a more inclusive society for all people.
It's really good.
Which sounds really, really exciting.
Yeah, really good.
They've specifically said that you create the exercise routine because it's supposed to be an inclusive challenge. They didn't want to put something out that people can't do. So it's something that you create. So it's whatever you can do. And it's kind of, it's marked on your message and then kind of how well you perform your routine. But obviously, because it's whatever you want, only do something you can do really well. And if that is a light stretch, then explain that you were motivated to join because you can only do this, but whatever. It's kind of entirely up to you creatively.
And I think it's also important to remember that all of our bodies are unique, but they're not that unique. If you've got something that works for you, there'll be somebody else who'll be very pleased to know about it. We had 2 youth takeover shows produced by Josh at the end of August, beginning of September, and I know your sibling EJ produced an exercise video at that point. So that is on the highlights and links page if anybody wants to watch that, to have some kind of idea, because of course EJ is also disabled, so don't look at it and think, oh, that's a non-disabled person doing that, because it isn't. I just think it's such a great idea because it's competitive in a very creative way, isn't it? But it also allows for so much variety and so much participation.
Yeah, so there'll be a link to that on the highlights page, which gives kind of more details, because you have to put in kind of the written thing as well, kind of what you're talking about. And I don't know the exact dates, but I know the festival runs off the top of my head to double check that.
In fact, this is a good moment for me to just squeeze in. All of the things we do are inclusive of people of every age, every impairment group, and every cultural group. But we have an additional programme for the under 25s because we know that for various reasons, young people don't have access to as much as the rest of us. We have a wonderful, another international artist, in fact, wonderful youth development worker, Hazel Brill. If you feel like you would really like to enter this as a disabled young person, but you need some help, get in touch with us. I'm going to put the information up again on the bottom of the screen now, but it's info@together2012.org.uk, or indeed Hazel at together2012.org.uk. And Hazel can tell you all about the Facebook group, the Instagram group, TikTok, and all of the other things we're doing. We also offer the Arts Awards programme if you're home based. So you might be out of school for health reasons, or you might be out of school because you're being home educated, in which case you are very welcome to join in our Arts Award programme for nationally recognised arts qualifications. So back to you, Josh.
Yeah, so then quickly on gaming, we talked a lot kind of throughout the show around gaming and options in gaming and kind of the art and creative side of the stories, in terms of actually making something, whether that's the narrative side or the literal drawing and animating of the game itself. But something we've talked about it a little bit, but something we haven't talked a lot about. And I caught a snippet of the news or the One Show or something that was on in the background, and they were talking to Ramesh Ranganathan, who's a stand-up comedian, and he was saying kind of early in lockdown, the kids were kind of playing computer games slightly more than they were, because they weren't at school. He said initially we were really kind of hesitant and unsure of do we want them spending so much time on it. And he said, but actually we realized that that's how they were connecting with their friends. And we've talked about it a little bit, that people, if they do have access to kind of computer games, whether that's consoles or kind of PCs or Macs, but even now with kind of technologies and smartphones, you can play multiplayer games on a smartphone. Obviously, it requires access to those technologies. And something we haven't really talked about a huge amount is the kind of social aspect of that, and especially those kind of team-based games. Even if you're competing against other people, you're still in a team. And even if it's not, it doesn't have to be a kind of deep and meaningful conversation, but it's 10 minutes of just chatting to people, working together with, oh, there's someone over there, or let's go and do this. If you are kind of stuck at home, that even
I think also
connection could be really helpful.
Yeah, and I think we should pick up that again in the future. I mean, I just wanted to add as well, of course, hand-eye coordination and problem-solving skills come with all games. You know, it is not a passive experience like watching the TV. And as with TV, there's so many different careers. For regular viewers, you'll know Julie and I are just dipping our toes into the water of gaming. It's taking us quite a long time. I imagine that's not unusual. So far, we've now upgraded the TV so we could see it properly. And yeah, I've just been pushing cables around ever since because now the TV stopped working completely. But like I said, I doubt that's really untypical. What I would say is that all of us this year, whoever we are, have kind of stepped up our technical involvement. We've all had to learn new skills. And it does seem to me that if people are used to playing games on their own, that's a really good kind of step up, is to go, okay, you know, let's explore this whole new world of playing together. Because there's different ways, isn't there, Josh? Like I said, I think we're going to have to get you to explain it to people like me in some detail over the next few weeks, but definitely include those options.
Yeah, so there's kind of games that are purely cooperative, so either playing with someone you know, or kind of you'll just get matched up with other people online. There's games where you're in a team competing against like the computer or competing against other real people. And there is also stuff where you're kind of by yourself, just competing against everybody else. So you might not get a great as kind of cooperative chat in that way because you are competing against each other. You know, you can still kind of, you know, there's still people to talk to. You might have to deal with some trash talking in that sense of it, but there's kind of lots of different options. And if you don't want that, like I said, you know, you can just play games where it's purely you and somebody else, or you and a couple of other people playing together to reach some objective, whatever it is, depending on the game.
And as a family, we've played a cooperative card game with lots of different friends that you're playing cards all together against each other, and the computer does all the dealing and the stuff.
I think it's a great idea. And I think if we look at the kind of, because all of these virtual things have real life equivalents, it's the difference between going somewhere with strangers where you've all got something in common and you've got something else to focus on, as in the gaming, and going into somewhere with strangers like a chat room where you don't know anybody and you know the focus is really on the individuals. So I think it's quite a good way of kind of socializing with new people, but without having to sort of be too open about yourself, because that's never a good idea online anyway.
And you know, you've got at least one thing in common, in that, assuming you both like the same game, because you're both playing it, so you can literally just talk about that. It's the icebreaker's already there. You know, like you said, you don't have to kind of share anything outside of a screen name, really, which doesn't have to have anything to do with who you really are. So.
Fantastic. So we'll come back to that next week. I've already flagged up that Friday always includes something for the weekend. We also start our Fridays by dressing up to go out to stay in. There was a brief period over the summer where we thought we might just be dressing up to go out, but no, we're still dressing up to go out to stay in. So that could be you putting on your best outfits, taking a photo or a video and sending it to us, or you could, like Julie, dress up to do something completely imaginary, like having tea on the moon with the clangers. Whatever it is, we would love to see your photos. It's got to the point with this current crisis where we're also dressing the animals up. So if you have a photo of your animal dressed up to go out to stay in, yes, we'd love to see it. Maybe we wouldn't have loved to have seen it in February, but by the end of this month, we will be absolutely desperate to see it. So think about dressing up to go out to stay in. Send us your pictures and films and we will share them and also put them on the highlights and links page. Friday is also a day when we look at visual arts, so if there's anything visual arts related, please send it to us. We will have another profile of an artist of colour for Black History Month and much, much more. In the meantime, it's goodbye from East London.
Bye from the West
Bye
Midlands.
from West Midlands. See you Friday.
And stay well, stay home, stay creative.